Rob Dunn, Never Out of Season, How Having the Food We Want When We Want It Threatens Our Food Supply and Our Future. And in Never Out of Season, Rob Dunn dives into the complexities of our global food supply and its vulnerability to disease and destruction. He illustrates how our desire for convenience and year-round access to seasonless foods puts our food systems at great risk. Dunn explores past crises, such as the Irish potato famine, and shares eye-opening stories of biological terrorism in the Brazilian cacao industry. By analyzing the approaches of various countries and scientists in preserving plant diversity and food security, this book summary unpacks the intricate interdependence of our modern world with the natural environment.
The devastating potato famine. 1 million died in Ireland's potato famine due to the late blight that ruined the potato crop, the staple food for the Irish. Infant mortality decreased and life expectancy increased after the introduction of potatoes as a crop. However, in the mid-1840s, the potatoes failed, leading to devastating consequences. The Irish blamed the cold weather, but scientists discovered that oomycetes, water molds, were responsible. This fungus thrived in wet, windy weather, leading to 1 million deaths. The potato famine remains a reminder of the tragedy of over-reliance on one crop and reinforces the need for diverse farming practices. The monocrop strategy's impact. The lack of diversity in crops brought to Europe led to the Irish potato famine and may cause future devastation from pathogens and pests. Centuries ago, the Spanish conquistadors and other European conquerors brought food from the Americas to Europe. However, they only brought back a few varieties of root crops instead of a diverse range that can grow in varied climates and soils. They didn't obtain knowledge from Andean farmers about how to grow, store or prepare crops. Instead of a diversified approach, the Irish and other Europeans replanted identical chunks of potatoes. This monocrop strategy resulted in famine and could replicate today due to the risk of pathogens and pests from the lack of crop diversity. Preventing history's repeat. Modern scientists aim to avoid history's repetition through the creation of the Centro Internacional de la Papa, CIP, in Peru in 1971. The organization was established to research the potato crops native to the country as part of a consortium focusing on different crops and regions. These centers are connected through the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. The Brazilian Empire of Cacao fall. The introduction of witch's broom disease devastated the cacao plantations in Bahia, Brazil, in the late 1980s. The disease caused tumors on trees and killed them, releasing spores into the air that continued the cycle. Cacao was Brazil's most important export, and losing the plantations would be disastrous for the economy. Founders of the Comissão Executiva do Plano de Lavoura Cacaoa, CEPLAC, organization launched it in the 1950s to support chocolate tree farmers after the cacao market crashed. Production rebounded through the help of CEPLAC, but farmers couldn't protect their crops from agricultural terrorism. Luiz Enrique Franco Timoteo and his accomplices introduced witch's broom to Bahia by bringing infected tree branches from the Amazon region and strategically tying them to cacao plants on the farms of the wealthiest owners to kill cacao and give power to the people. The introduction of witch's broom forced 250,000 people to lose their jobs, and 1 million plantation employees and their families relocated to cities to find work. Timoteo was the one most familiar with the Amazon, so he traveled with rice bags hiding the infected tree branches on a bus to Porto Velho in Rondônia, then to Bahia in a CEPLAC vehicle. In 2007, Timoteo was found guilty, but the evidence was inconclusive regarding the other men. The life and legacy of Nikolai Vavilov. Nikolai Vavilov, renowned agriculturalist, spent his career studying and collecting various seeds in Europe and Russia, all in an effort to find the key to feeding a growing population. Despite facing numerous setbacks, including the loss of his collection and imprisonment by Stalin's men, Vavilov remained dedicated to his work until his untimely death. Nikolai Vavilov was a Russian agriculturalist who graduated from the Moscow Agricultural Institute in 1911. His primary focus was to grow crops that were resistant to pathogens, including oat, barley, and wheat varieties. During his travels to various labs in Europe, he studied and collected seeds in an effort to find the key to feeding the growing population. However, World War I forced him to return home in 1914, and tragically, his entire seed collection was lost when the ship carrying it blew up after hitting a mine. Undeterred, Vavilov continued his work, discovering a new, fast-growing Persian wheat variety that was resistant to powdery mildew. He traveled to Transcaspian and Turkmenistan to learn more and later became a professor at Saratov University. In 1920, he became head of the Bureau of Applied Botany, focused on studying plant breeding in the only place in Russia studying it at the time. Vavilov and his students sought to understand how to feed the population of the largest country on earth. However, their efforts were nearly derailed when Hitler's troops invaded Leningrad in 1941. Hitler was interested in Vavilov's seed collection and created a special SS unit to take it away from the Soviet Union. Despite facing numerous break-ins and sabotage attempts, Vavilov and his colleagues continued to protect their seeds and seed potatoes, even replacing their wooden and paper containers with metal ones that humans couldn't chew through. Cold, hungry seed storage workers surrounded by food managed to stave off their hunger for the greater good, but unfortunately, Brucker and his troops eventually seized Vavilov's seed collections. Being a famous scientist put Vavilov at odds with Trofim Lysenko, Stalin's right-hand man for science decisions. Lysenko believed wheat varieties could improve after being shocked by the cold, a theory that ignored genetics and natural selection. Vavilov was eventually captured by Stalin's men and died of starvation on January 26, 1943, after surviving torture in prison. He left behind a wife, an ex-wife, 2 sons, and the world's largest collection of seeds. Despite the numerous setbacks he faced and his untimely death, Vavilov's legacy lives on through his work and contributions to agricultural science. Ford's failed mission. Henry Ford's failed attempt to create a rubber source for his car manufacturing in the Amazon rainforest is the story of unpreparedness, inexperience, and environmental destruction. Whilst Charles Goodyear's vulcanization of rubber revolutionized both the car and the rubber industry in the 1800s, the demand rapidly outstripped the South American supply. To mitigate this, Ford bought 1 million hectares of the Brazilian rainforest he called Fordlandia, to create a new source of rubber. But his failure was to assume his expertise in manufacturing meant he could conquer anything. He ignored the blight that was ravaging the local rubber trees and sent no scientists to the Amazon to study the environment. Instead, he hoped to recreate his Michigan factory in the middle of the jungle. Thus began a catastrophic series of mistakes that resulted in Ford's Belterra plantation overrun with lace bugs, red mites, small black ants, and blight. Today, natural rubber from Asia remains the most popular choice over synthetic rubber due to the supply's scalability and cost. Saving seeds, saving humanity. Cary Fowler's quest to preserve seeds led to the creation of the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, a doomsday vault that holds over 800,000 species of seeds as a backup against global catastrophe. In the 1970s, Cary Fowler found his calling, saving seeds. Fowler was a researcher on the book Food First, which promoted the idea of simplifying agriculture, eating local produce, and becoming vegetarian. Fowler's mission was to save seeds in a central location and create regional seed banks for the future. However, Fowler's plan was hampered by the 1970 Plant Variety Protection Act, which allowed growers to patent the process of sexually producing plants. Despite this, Fowler and his friend Patrick Mooney received the Right Livelihood Award in 1985 and gave a speech about their vision for a global seed bank. They planned to establish it under the banner of the United Nations to store seeds safely and make them widely available. In 2001, the UN signed the International Seed Treaty, which gave farmers, breeders, and scientists access to seeds in return for an equitable share of their seed profits back to the seed's country of origin. Fowler needed resources and capital to build a seed bank, which led to the creation of the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Svalbard, Norway. The Doomsday Vault was built to withstand global catastrophes and currently holds over 800,000 species of seeds, making it the largest seed bank in the world. Fowler's ultimate goal is to reach 1 million species of seeds. In conclusion, Fowler's passion for preserving seeds led him to create the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, which holds the key to humanity's future food security.
Dunn's Never Out of Season highlights the urgency of protecting our worldwide food supply and stresses the importance of cultivating diverse, resilient crops. The book emphasizes the lessons of history, from the infamous Irish potato famine to the collapse of Brazil's cacao empire. By incorporating tales of dedicated scientists like Nikolai Vavilov and activists like Carrie Fowler, Dunn encourages readers to consider the long-term consequences of our modern-day food choices. This examination of our precarious food system underscores the necessity of understanding the connections between our actions, our ecosystems, and our future food security.